What if your old 1967, 1975, or 2014 P. Roosevelt dime was secretly worth thousands? These ordinary coins hide rare mint errors, off-metal strikes, and shocking anomalies that collectors crave. Don't spend that change. Watch this first. This is a dime from 1975, one of over a billion struck by the Denver Mint. It's the kind of coin you drop into parking meters without a second thought. But what if I told you it could be worth thousands of dollars, even if it looks completely average? Because sometimes the most valuable coins are the ones we never stop to notice. The story of the 1975 D. Roosevelt dime starts in a tumultuous era. America was still reeling from the Vietnam War and Watergate. The economy teetered between inflation and recovery, and the U.S. Mint was experimenting behind the scenes, testing new dies, planchets, and production techniques that would shape coinage for the next decade. Most dimes that year were unremarkable. Copper nickel clad, standard strikes meant for everyday use. But a few slipped through the cracks with stories to tell. Stories born of minting anomalies, mistakes that became miracles. Consider the rare double die obverse. Dies, those steel molds that stamp each coin, were sometimes misaligned or struck twice during production. This minor handshake between machine and metal can leave ghost images on the coin, a shadow of letters, doubling of your date, a whisper of movement frozen in copper nickel on a rare handful of 1975 D dimes. Liberty appears to tremble. The date, and in God we trust, might show a thin echo beneath the crisp strike. To an untrained eye, it might seem like wear or a rogue scratch. But under light and magnification, the doubling is undeniable and incredibly rare. Collectors know these coins well, and when one surfaces in mint condition, it can command a premium. I've seen a mid-grade double die 1975 D sell for nearly $3,000. Higher grades have crossed the $10,000 threshold, and that's just for doubling. But mint errors don't stop there. In the chaos of production, few planchets, those blank discs destined to become coins, were misfed. Imagine a dime struck on a clad nickel planchet, or worse, a leftover silver blank from earlier years. It's not just wrong. It's astonishing. One such mistake saw a 1975 D struck on a leftover 40% silver blank from test run. The result is a dime that looks like the rest, but rings like a bell and weighs more. One of these extraordinary pieces sold at auction for over $7,500. Then, there was the discovery of dimes struck on mistaken foreign planchets. While it's rare, leftover blanks from mint contracts for other nations sometimes found their way into U.S. presses. One 1975 D struck on a planchet intended for a Central American coin. Ill-fitting and slightly off-size, sold privately for nearly $5,200. But perhaps the most haunting anomalies are the transitional Prooflike clones. In 1975, the Mint was testing new surface mint sets, SMS, a limited-run proof-style coin distributed to collectors. Some SMS dies were accidentally used in the production of circulation dimes. The result? Coins struck with remarkable mirror fields and frosted devices. Only they disappeared in a pocket change. One near-perfect, mirror-like 1975 D found its way into circulation. Graded SP68 and sold for nearly $12,000. Like discovering a specimen coin masquerading as pocket change. These stories are more than curiosities. They're a reminder that every machine, however perfect it's meant to be, has a soft spot. A temperature or misalignment can create thousands of identical coins and one magical mistake. But let's talk about how to find them yourself. Start by sorting any 1975 D Roosevelt dimes. You likely have dozens, even hundreds. Get a quality magnifier. 10x power is perfect. Inspect Liberty, in God we trust, and the date. Look for doubling, not wear. A crisp shadow means you might have a double die. Weigh them if you can. Standard clads should check in at 2.27 grams. Anything heavier, maybe around 2.7 grams, could be silver or off metal. Lighter or strangely sized, it could be struck on a thin foreign planchet. Next, hold them up to strong light or use a loupe. Is there a mirror-like shine under the surfaces? A proof-like or specimen dimpled field. Those SMS-struck coins will flash back at you even when tossed next to other dimes. But please, never clean these coins. No polishing, no scratching, no chemical chips. Even a gentle wipe can kill their value. A spot of dirt? Fine. A drop of milk or oil? Not fine. Keep their imperfections. That authenticity is what gives them power. If you think you found something intriguing, protect that coin. Place it in a PVC-free flip or a hard plastic holder. Submit it to NGC or PCGS. Let their experts analyze it. A confirmed double die or silver-clad treasure can easily push past the five-figure mark. This isn't just about money. It's history in your hands. A dime minted in Massachusetts or California, struck alongside millions, but saved for its anomaly. A dime that tells a story of transition, experimentation, and human oversight, and it could be yours. Maybe it's in your desk drawer. Maybe it's waiting in a jar your partner forgot. Maybe it's in your child's piggy bank. Don't assume it's worthless. Assume it might be extraordinary. If you find a 1975 D dime with doubling, wrong weight, Prooflike shine, or unusual metal, send me a message. I'd love to hear about it. And so would thousands of other collectors out there, because that dime in your pocket, it might just be the quiet spark of wonder that turns you into a treasure hunter. That turns a routine coin into a conversation with time. A whisper of mistake transformed into magic. Oh, look closely. Hold that dime to the light. Listen for the ring. Feel the weight. Examine every letter. The most valuable coins are the ones no one saw coming. Let the 1975 D dime be your proof. It's not just change. It's history. It's mystery. It's magic. And it could be worth a fortune. How many times have you dropped a dime into a parking meter, a vending machine, or the bottom of a piggy bank without thinking twice? That little silver coin we take for granted has likely passed through thousands of hands, paying for coffee, rides, and candy bars. But what if one of those dimes, one just like this 1967 Roosevelt, was worth not 10 cents but thousands of dollars? It sounds impossible, but it's not. Somewhere among the billions of coins minted by the U.S. Treasury, a handful of extraordinary errors slipped through the cracks. Rare, minting mishaps, odd planchet choices, and subtle details invisible to most, but worth a fortune to those who know what to look for. And in the case of the 1967 Roosevelt dime, those secrets are hiding in plain sight. Now let's take a journey back to 1967. The United States was deep into a decade of transformation. The civil rights movement was making history. The Vietnam War was escalating, and a cultural revolution was changing the American identity. Amid all of this, the U.S. Mint was undergoing a revolution of its own. Just 3 years earlier, in 1964, silver coinage had been permanently altered. The rising cost of silver made it unsustainable to continue minting dimes, quarters, and half dollars in solid silver. So in 1965, the U.S. Mint began issuing clad coins, a copper core sandwich between layers of cupronickel. The Roosevelt dime, which had been struck in 90% silver since its debut in 1946, was now being produced in this new clad composition. By 1967, the process was in full swing. And while the change was meant to be seamless, it wasn't perfect. That's where the story of the 1967 dime takes a surprising turn. Though hundreds of millions of 1967 dimes were minted, over 2.2 billion to be exact, only a few were struck with rare and unusual errors. These are the coins that turn up at auctions and shock even seasoned collectors. One such error is the off-metal planchet strike. A few 1967 Roosevelt dimes were mistakenly struck on silver planchets left over from earlier years. That's right, despite the mint's transition to clad, some silver planchets slipped through the system and were used to strike new coins. These coins are nearly indistinguishable to the naked eye, but have a different ring, a different weight, and most importantly, a different value. How different? One such 1967 dime struck on a 90% silver planchet, verified and graded by PCGS, sold at auction for over $9,000. And another, in pristine mint state with full torch lines, fetched a jaw-dropping $12, $650. But there's more. So 1967 dimes exhibit a double die obverse, a striking error where the die used to imprint the design was engraved twice, slightly misaligned. The result is subtle but unmistakable. The date, motto, and even Roosevelt's features appear doubled, almost like a ghost shadow clinging to the original image. This isn't damage or wear. It's a mint-made mistake, and it transforms a 10-cent coin into a numismatic marvel. Only a few of these have surfaced. But when they do, collectors take notice. A 1967 double-die obverse in high grade sold privately for over $8,000, and prices only climb with better preservation and stronger doubling. Then there are the transitional errors that in the chaos of switching metals and adjusting minting techniques. A handful of coins ended up with characteristics that didn't belong in their era. Some were struck with proof dies during a year when no official proof coins were released to the public. 1967 was one of those years. Proof sets have been suspended from 1965 through 1967. Instead, the mint issued what they called special mint sets, or SMS coins. These SMS dimes were struck with more care and precision than standard circulation coins, but they weren't proof coins in the traditional sense. Yet, a few 1967 dimes have been found with proof-like surfaces, mirror fields, and frosted devices, features usually reserved for proof coins. Whether these are ultra-high-grade SMS issues or accidental early strikes remains a topic of debate. But one thing is clear. Collectors crave them. In SMS dime for 1967 graded SP68 with ultra cameo surfaces once reached $6,500 at auction. That's right, more than $6,000 for a coin you might have tossed in your laundry jar. But here's the real kicker. Among these anomalies, there's a particularly bizarre and valuable variation. Dimes from 1967 that were struck on foreign planchets. During the 1960s, the U.S. Mint was producing coins not only for domestic use, but for other countries as well. Sometimes, a blank intended for a foreign coin accidentally found its way into a U.S. press. Imagine finding a Roosevelt dime that's thinner, lighter, or even made of a completely different metal. It might not feel like much. It might even seem fake. But don't be so quick to dismiss it. One such 1967 dime, struck on a planchet mint for a 1-cent coin from another nation, sold for $5,750. Not because of what it was supposed to be, but because of what it accidentally became. All of this raises a simple but powerful question. How many more of these coins are still out there? Unnoticed, unloved, sitting in jars, drawers, and shoeboxes, waiting for someone to take a closer look. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about age or scarcity. It's about history, human error, and the quiet thrill of discovery. And the 1967 Roosevelt dime is the perfect example. Born in a time of transition, minted in a year without proofs, produced in numbers so large that most people never imagined any could be special. But a few, just a few, escaped the ordinary. Oh, here's your call to action. Don't overlook the small change. Grab a magnifying glass. Look at your 1967 dimes. Feel the weight. Examine the lettering. Listen to the ring. Pay attention to surfaces, edges, and alignment. If something feels off, it just might be. Take notes. Compare weights. Normal 1967 dimes should weigh about 2.27 grams. Anything over 2.5 grams could be silver. Anything under 2 grams? Possibly foreign. Look closely at the date. At Liberty, at In God We Trust. Do you see a shadow? A doubling? Take your time. These coins aren't always loud about their secrets. If you suspect you found something, don't clean it. Don't try to polish or improve it. Preserve it, protect it, and have it graded by a reputable service like PGS or NGC. Because sometimes a dime is just a dime. But every now and then, it's a whisper from history. A small, round window into a world of mistakes that turned into miracles. The 1967 Roosevelt dime is proof that even the most ordinary coin can become something truly extraordinary. All it takes is someone to notice. That dime could be worth thousands. Yes, a modest 2014 P. Roosevelt dime you might have dropped into a vending machine could now fetch 5 figures. Errors, off-metal strikes, transitional anomalies, they're hiding in plain sight. And the wheat penny? That humble 1909 to 1958 cent might be even more fascinating. Today, we dig into how ordinary-looking wheat pennies can conceal extraordinary secrets. That we begin with history. The Lincoln wheat cent was introduced in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's centennial. It replaced the Indian head cent and featured Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse. It was simple, durable, and struck for 5 decades through both world wars, across times of prosperity and recession. In 1943, steel pennies were briefly minted to conserve copper. By 1944, copper wheat pennies resumed with recycled shell casings. Each year of production tells a story that lets zoom in on the wheat pennies context and the anomalies that make them coveted. We'll explore rare mint errors, off-metal planchets, and double-die obverse varieties. And we'll hear from collectors whose discoveries transformed pocket change into legacy pieces. The first coin we explore is the 1955 wheat penny. Though not from the 2014 era, its story helps set a pattern. The famous 1955 double-die obverse penny features dramatic doubling in the date, lettering, and wheat kernels. It was discovered by a coin roll hunter in Idaho in the 1960s and later sold for thousands. This coin reminds us, subtle shifts in die alignment can transform a cent into a numismatic marvel. The same principle applies to wheat pennies across the series, each showing that small misalignments during die setup can leave ghostly echoes in the design. Turning to the 1967 era to echo our dime analogy, wheat penny anomalies can also include transitional planchet errors. Wheat cents from 1944 and 1945 were struck on copper salvage from shell casings. But a few errors appeared. Coins with residual silver-toned patching or slight weight discrepancies, indicating off-metal contamination. One collector found a 1944 penny struck on a zinc-coated shell blank, altering its weight and appearance. It sold for $4,500. That same phenomenon, wrong blank, right design, can happen any year. A better example, a 1948 D wheat cent struck on a Canadian steel planchet, foolproof to the naked eye until weighed and metal tested, pulled in $6,200 at auction. But what about 2014? That dime you heard could be worth thousands is a testament to modern mint output complexity. Strange test strikes, misaligned mint marks, proof dies used in production. Each error carries weight today. The principle remains. When standardized processes go off script, the results fascinate collectors. Imagine applying that to wheat pennies. Even the final years of wheat cent production, like 1958, extraordinary errors emerged. Though last year wheat pennies are themselves scarce, courtesy of the 1959 Memorial Reverse debut. A 1958 double-die obverse wheat penny sold for $12,800 in 2020. It looked uneventful in coin jars until a magnifier revealed doubling in Liberty and the date. A dramatic transitional example, a 1943 D wheat penny. Officially that year was steel. But what if a copper blank popped into the press? Occasionally, reports emerge of copper-struck pennies from 1943, marked with a tiny D. Some prove to be altered, others remain mysteries. A genuine 1943 D copper penny, unverified but rumored, would be priceless. Instead, we have documented 1943 P copper error pieces sold for $1.7 million at auction. These show how one planchet can bend history. Even the mint mark matters. A 1950 D wheat penny with a double-struck Denver D mint mark, RPM, sold for $4,200. The mint man punched the mint mark twice, slightly off, creating a mini ghost of a D. What makes it special isn't clean design. It's the error's authenticity. If you've ever held a wheat penny, normal brown, maybe worn, you've probably never seen these subtleties. But when discovered, a coin jar becomes endless potential. Let's review key anomalies. 1. Double die obverse. Look for doubling in Liberty, in God We Trust, and the date. When magnified, you'll see a shadow or split line on characters. Wheat cents with clear doubling, especially 1942 to 46, sell for thousands. 1942 double die MS65 red fetched over $9,400.20. Off-metal planchets and transitional blanks. These are pennies struck on silver or zinc blanks, leftover foreign planchets, or designated metal transitions like 1943. Check weight. Wheat pennies should be 3.11 grams. Anything heavier or lighter, especially with odd tones, is worth investigating. A 1948 steel-struck wheat penny recently sold for $6,200.30. Mint mark mistakes. RPM's double-punched mint marks, particularly on Denver and San Francisco minute pennies, are subtle but impactful errors. High-grade RPM wheat pennies often exceed $3,040. Unusual strikes, off-center, brockage so wheat penny misfed in the press, struck off-center by 10 to 20% can be eye-catching. Higher misalignment with clean detail raises value. A 1951 off-center penny, 20%, sold for $5,800.50. Condition and color, red versus brown color economy might begin the story, but condition tells the end. A flawless red MS-68 wheat penny from 1954, sold for $21,600. The lustrous copper speaks to preservation. Now, let's connect those historical dots. These anomalies reflect minting complexity. Mass production pushes machinery. Human error creeps in. Leftover planchets escape. Dyes are overused. Every missed misalignment or test strike becomes a historical footnote carved in copper. Our modern parallel, the 2014 P. Roosevelt dime, echoes the same story but on a smaller scale. Even in modern mints with tighter QA, misfeeds, proof die use, and leftover blank slip through. And today, they yield five-figure value. Wheat pennies in their time were just as vulnerable and infinitely more mysterious now. What's the takeaway? Whether it's a dime from 2014 or a wheat penny over 70 years old, each coin you dismiss could be a time capsule. Each error or anomaly is a doorway into mint history. That dull, brown penny might be your ticket to a conversation with collectors, historians, storytellers that here's your action plan. Gather all old pennies, especially wheat pennies from 1909, 1958, sort by date and mint mark. Use a magnifier to spot doubling or ghosting in letters and dates. Weight any odd-tone coins. Strange weights could mean off-metal errors. Inspect edges, fields, and surfaces. Prooflike reflectivity, brockage, or off-center patterns are clues. Leave coins uncleaned. Let their patina and marks speak for themselves. Document and compare. Take photos, note anomalies, compare to verified error types. Submit promising finds to grading services like PCGS or NGC. Authentication is KEY. In the end, finding a rare wheat penny isn't about luck, though a bit of luck helps. It's about paying attention, learning the signs, and exploring with curiosity. That 2014 dime worth thousands could be 1,000 wheat pennies overnight if we only pause to wonder. This journey takes you beyond pocket change, into hidden moments of mint history, forgotten by time, but not by those who listen closely. So grab that jar, empty out your drawers, and look again. You never know what story you'll uncover in the shine and shadow of an old penny, because every wheat cent has a story waiting to be discovered.